Howdy, folks. I'm Brian.
I'm Amber.
And here's some Reddit. But before we begin, how do you like the colors?
I like them.
I think they're marvelous colors, to be quite honest. Our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Sister to Stop Acting as If My Fiance Were Her Son's Dad? I'm a 24-year-old female and my sister is a 23-year-old female. And he had my nephew Joe during her first year in college. The father is absent in his life and only pays child support. She has always hated the idea of my nephew growing up without a father figure since our brother is only 17 and our dad passed away 10 years ago. She has dated recklessly for a little while and introduced him to a bunch of dudes. 3 years ago, I met my now fiance, Gabriel, a 28-year-old male, and he's really sweet and adores my family. He's financially stable with good kids, and good with kids. He has a bunch of nephews of his own and comes from a good big family. We decided to be child-free, and if something happens to my sister and a few of Gabe's siblings, we're meant to be their legal guardians. Well, for the past year, my sister has grown comfortable with pushing Joe around Gabe. She always invites him to my nephew's activities, which is fine, but she acts as if Gabe were her guest and I'm his plus one. Not otherwise. Plus, my brother used to be the one who got invited, and he's not anymore. She asked Gabe to drive her and Joe to places, and my mom pointed out how they look like a family when he does this. That's not at all disconcerting, is that?
No.
She jokes about how much a dad Gabriel is for Joe, and she has the audacity to ask him once if he was comfortable with adopting Joe, but she was drunk, so I'll give her that. You know, they say there's truth in wine, right? So I would take her for her drunk self. Neither Gabe or I are comfortable with this, and he doesn't know how to push it aside without hurting their feelings. My mom has told my sister countless times now that this is inappropriate, but my sister always gets defensive and says that Joe chose him and it's not her fault. Things blew up last weekend when Joe asked Gabriel if he could call him dad because mom said it was fine. My sister was looking at them with the biggest smile on her face, and I could notice how my mom and brother were expecting his answer. Neither of them agreed to it though. He sat Joe down on his knee and kindly explained to him that he wasn't his dad or even his dad figure, that he was Aunt OP's soon-to-be husband, and that made him his favorite uncle, but even if he wasn't his dad, he would never leave him and they'll always be best friends. Joe, being the sweetest kid he is, laughed and smiled and said that was okay, and then ran off into the living room to play. I think the situation resolved itself okay, but my sister didn't like it and started a fight with us. My mom kept telling her to be quiet, but said things like, "What's wrong with you two? How can you say no to a little kid? He sees you like a father, so you should be proud of that." I had enough and told her that Gabriel wasn't Joe's dad and that she needed to stop acting as if he was, because honestly it was embarrassing. She called me a selfish C-word and said that I was jealous of her kid. I just rolled my eyes and we decided to leave after that. She later sent me a text saying that it was best if we stopped out of Joe's life for a little while, as it will end up confusing him because he doesn't understand that Gabe is not his dad. But as far as I can tell, he's got it pretty well. Edit ad, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that we are already Joe's legal guardians, but if something happens to my sister, and we hope that it never does, we'll be taking care of him. Also, my sister is not right. I agree with that, but doubt that she will ever get violent. All right. What do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk.
You know, this wasn't confusing to the kid until their sister started making it confusing for the kid.
Exactly. Like, the thing is, it sounds like this is not Joe going out of his way and getting confused. This is basically OP's sister being like, he's your daddy. Call him daddy. It's okay. Like, it sounds like she wants OP's man. She wants the perfect little family with him.
It does sound like she wants to steal away OP's man, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, she, again, I know she was drunk, but she literally was like, hey, can you adopt my kid?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, what better indicator that she's just like, she's just trying to worm her way into OP's life.
And she's trying to use the kid to, like, and so she doesn't go directly and be like, hey, you want to get with me instead of my sister. But it's the kid. He sees you as a father. You have no choice but to be a father for him.
And then what comes next? Like, oh, well, you need to hug, your mommy too, type of thing. And then maybe more and more, like, boundary crossings until finally we end up somewhere where it just was not meant to be, And I think that she's delusional is really what this boils down to. Like, I think not OP, but the sister, right? the sister is delusional because she thinks that she's going to somehow make this family unit that she's always wanted. And I don't think that's the case here, you know?
Yeah, well, I think that because Gabe has a hard time setting and holding boundaries, she thinks she can just like push, if she pushes far enough it will
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's clearly not what anyone else wants in this situation, but she has no problem like taking advantage of the fact that he has a hard time saying no.
Yeah.
And that's really unfortunate.
It is, and it's a little really just in poor taste that she's willing to go this far.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for reading romance novels despite it making my boyfriend uncomfortable? I'm a 29-year-old female, and I am a huge lover of romance novels. Doesn't matter how bad or trashy they are. They are fun just to veg out, as they require very little focus. I do enjoy some more nuanced books too, but they require more focus, and I don't always have the energy for that. I've currently been binging all of Susan Trombley's books. 10 out of 10 would recommend if you like the sci-fi fantasy romance novels. My boyfriend, a 30-year-old male, has never liked me reading these kind of books in our 2 years of dating, as they make him uncomfortable, so I stopped reading them around him. I figured while not every book in this genre contains adult material, a fair few are, so that was likely why he was uncomfortable, so I didn't push it further. We were discussing moving in together, and he has told me he doesn't want my books on the bookshelves as it's embarrassing to have them out in the open like that. I told them if he'd prefer, I'd keep them on a bookshelf that isn't in the living room of the house where guests could see it, but no. Turns out he doesn't want them on a bookshelf at all.
He wants them buried in the backyard in a treasure chest.
I ended up asking him what was his issue and told him that they were harmless. He told me I make him feel uncomfortable by enjoying these kind of books as they seem low intelligence, and that I also make him feel less like he's not enough. I told him that he was of course enough and pointed out how him watching adult entertainment doesn't mean that I am not enough for him, does it? But he refuses to see the similarity.
Oh my goodness.
I've always figured it was harmless to read these kind of books. I don't get why it makes him so uncomfortable. Maybe I'm the jerk for still reading them despite knowing he feels this way.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, like OP is 100% not the jerk here. Like,
I can understand him being maybe not wanting those kinds of books on like a public facing bookshelf if it really makes him that uncomfortable. But in their bedroom?
well, and I don't even like if it's both of their house. Like, there's nothing explicit about
Yeah,
romance
yeah.
novels. Like,
Well, I mean, and that's a fair point because it's not like there's actual like images in there that are lewd. I could understand like not wanting to display certain images out in the public because it could be uncomfortable for your guests, right?
but romance novels are just so common. Romance is the most widely read genre by a long bit. There's nothing really that's going to throw off guests by seeing romance novels.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why he has such an issue with this. It sounds like he's very, very insecure about this whole thing.
It does. Not everything you do has to be intellectual.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Reading is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be slogging through like really highly intellectual tomes to I said.
Well, I feel like the intellectual bit is a cover in this situation.
I think you're probably right. I think they make him insecure for other reasons. But
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, you don't have to read intellectual things. It doesn't say anything about you if you don't read just intellectual things. Like, almost none of the books I read these days are intellectual. Lots of horror, thrillers, some romance,
Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Messing Up Dinner? My wife has been pushing me to cook more. Truth be told, my cooking skills are a level 0. Before her, I ate frozen microwave stuff, but that was in college. And before that, my mom was a stay-at-home mom and handled all of the cooking while we were growing up. At any rate, my wife recently put it out there that she expects me to cook, like real cooking, not pop something in the oven or microwave. Well, last night we tried something easy. Hamburger helper. I messed it up, I forgot the milk, and it was an honest mistake. She took it as me sabotaging her for making me cook. She demanded an apology for sabotaging the food. I didn't give her one, which made her even more mad and ended up with me, even after telling her before we went to sleep that I loved her, and she told me to be quiet and rolled over. All right. So Amber and I had a little bit of a debate on this one before we actually read it. So I think that I was originally thinking that potentially he might not be a jerk. And Amber was disagreeing with me, and so we ended up looking up the hamburger helper like steps, and there are literally 3 steps to make
Yeah,
hamburger
and
helper.
3 ingredients. Like you just need to add milk and water.
It's milk and water, and I can understand. Well, you also have
Oh,
the
hamburger,
hamburger, yeah, the
yes.
hamburger, milk and water, right? I can certainly understand being overwhelmed in the kitchen, and like not everyone's going to have like the same level of cooking skills. But if he can throw something into a microwave, then he can also add a cup of milk and a cup of water to hamburger helper or whatever the proportions are, right? I think that maybe this might have been a honest mistake, but maybe he also has a mental block.
Right, like my argument was that at the minimum it shows that he's very careless and doesn't put any thought into the cooking. Like
Yeah,
it is something he cares so little about that he like because when you're adding 3 things to a meal, like
it's really hard to mess up 3 things.
yeah, and it just like shows that he didn't check the box like to make sure he had everything. Like when I'm trying a new recipe, I'm someone who grew up not doing a lot of cooking, so if I do a new recipe, I check the steps I go to make sure that I've got it down pat.
Hmm.
If I'm afraid I'm gonna miss something. And so he didn't check anything. He didn't have the ingredients out beforehand.
Hmm.
Or if he did, then oh, why was this milk here? Like,
Yeah.
So
And sometimes it's easy to mess up cooking. Like I'm a relatively good cook, I feel like, and sometimes I mess stuff up, and it's not on purpose. I'm not like out there trying to mess up a meal or anything like that. And accidents do happen, but when it's your first time and it's 3 ingredients and 3 steps, it's really difficult to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt that this isn't weaponized incompetence.
right. And so like even if it was an honest mistake, I think it shows a lack of commitment
Yeah.
to like helping his wife out in the kitchen.
Yeah, and I think he needs to make this up. He needs to do a better job at preparing food in the future and not, if he's really sincerely sorry and he wants to show his wife that he's not doing this on purpose, he needs to try again and do a better job. That's my thoughts.
All right, our next story is am I the jerk for selling my share of our business to someone my ex hates? I owned a business with my ex-fiance. The business was something he wanted to start in the first place and wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. So after we broke up, I wanted nothing more than to cut all ties with him, including the business. He refused to buy me out though, so I was stuck unless I could find another buyer. This is where James came into the picture.
Oh, James.
James and my ex hate each other. They both actively try to sabotage the other in the past. I used to be really close to James at one point, but I stopped talking to him a year into my relationship with my ex. James offered to buy my share of the business. I knew my ex would be furious, and I knew James didn't have pure intentions, but I still agreed. It hasn't been finalized yet, and my ex has been hounding me since he found out. He has gone from begging me not to sell to calling me a bee for doing this to him. Am I the jerk?
The thing is, like, he had an opportunity
Yeah.
to buy the shares out, but he was, like, being mean about this. Like, what do
Yeah.
you expect?
Exactly. Like, I don't see anything wrong with, like, selling the shares to an interested buyer.
Yeah. Like, OP wanted to get rid of the shares. He knows that he has a nemesis, right? And the nemesis is actively trying to sabotage him. So why would he not actively buy those shares out? It just is kind of boggling. Maybe he never expected OP to actually sell them to James.
That's probably the case. She wouldn't do this to me.
Yeah,
like...
she wouldn't do that, right? Right? No, she will. So, I mean, I would have a hard time faulting OP. I mean, what she should do is she should say, well, I'll sell you the shares if you pay twice what James is paying for them.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly don't have too much pity for him because it sounds like he was doing this in order to basically kind of like make sure that he had those liquid assets. And that was rude. I really think that was rude. He could have just amicably bought out your shares and the story would be over then, right?
Right, and Opie did the kind gesture of offering it to him 1st,
Mm-hmm.
but once he refuses that, like, Opie doesn't want to be stuck in this business. She's done her due diligence.
Yeah. All right, folks, it is tea time. I've put some guesses up on the screen for you to guess.
You probably can guess my tea.
So Amber wanted to guess what kind of tea I'm having here because I didn't tell her what kind of tea I was having. But before we do that, Amber, would you like to read a super silly riddle to
Absolutely.
everyone?
I will absolutely do that. Did you hear about the 2 lighthouse keepers who fell in love?
No.
Their marriage is on the rocks.
Oh no! Oh, that's terrible. That's sad.
I know.
All right. I did Wordle in 3, as you can see, and I had Forever Nuts.
That was my guess.
That was your guess? Yeah. Amber
well,
has.
I can see the color. It's pink. I knew from that. I was like, it's Forever Nuts.
I should have let you guess first
Yes,
before
you
telling.
should have.
Because now everyone's just going to be like, no, Amber's just like saying it. Because we know that Amber's dishonest.
I am not dishonest. At least not about tea things.
Oh, so she is dishonest.
I'm not gonna say I've never done anything dishonest in my life, because I feel like anytime I say something like that, it's like, yes, I've definitely been dishonest in my life. I could be a shady child. I hope I've mostly grown out of that, but like, I don't want to say I've never ever been dishonest.
All right. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for getting upset with my best friend's son for giving my son cake? My son is 8 years old and recently attended his friend's 8th birthday party. This friend is my best friend's son. I don't let my son have any or much junk food at all, and he usually brings his own snacks. For this incident, it was carrot sticks with ranch to the events, and I don't let him have a lot of sugary foods. My best friend bakes a lot and made a special chocolate cake for her son's birthday. When it comes to my son, I do not let him have cake. This is a personal preference for his health, not for allergy reasons, and he's not diabetic or gluten-free. My son knows that he isn't allowed to have cake because of the additives. When he told his best friend this at the party, his friend apparently got upset with him and said it was good cake. Not bad, like I say, because his mom made it, and it was a birthday cake. My son ate the cake, got a sugar rush, and crashed, making him cranky for the rest of the day after we left the party. I told my friend that she needs to have some kind of consequence for her son to teach him not to peer pressure other children into eating things that they're not allowed to have. She said because it wasn't an issue of allergies or health, that she was sorry that my son was cranky, but she won't be punishing her son or talking to him about it on his birthday. She also says that she'll just watch him more closely and make sure that her husband does as well in the future, and have a chat with him on another day about respecting food habits. I love my friend, but historically, her and her husband have always said yes to their son and not give him any consequences for anything. Both of us were present at the party. You were there
Yeah,
too?
I know, that's the best part
When
of it.
you were here, you were literally at the party. OP, you're the jerk, right? I don't even need to finish this off. You weren't watching your own son and he ate some cake. Oh my goodness, OP. Both of us were present at the party and did not see them sharing cake. They were outside eating in the backyard when their father and some parents were supervising while we cleaned up. It's not an issue anyone going behind anyone's back, just teaching children's boundary and respect. I let my son stay for the rest of the party to be with his friends, so it's not like I ruined the day. Am I the jerk for being upset with my friend's son and the fact that he won't punish her son for pressuring my son into eating cake? You know, I don't think it took much convincing.
Right, it doesn't sound like it was pressure. It sounds like Opie's son was like, I'm not allowed to have cake because it's bad.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he's going to be upset because his mom made him this special cake. And, like, this isn't bad cake. Like,
well, it also sounds like she has more of a problem of like the additives and the preservatives, and potentially if this was homemade cake, then that's probably not even going to be in this cake.
Right, exactly. It's fine to want your kids to be healthy, but denying them anything that's, you know, sweet or has preservatives or additives is not healthy.
No, and it's just going to lead to problems when they grow up, right? Because they're not going to develop those skills that are necessary for, you know, dealing with these kinds of situations when they have to make their own choices, right? And so I do think like they need to be taught to, you know, respect food, but not to fear, you know, eating sugar and stuff like that.
An attitude of moderation goes a long way and would do a lot better. Like, birthday parties are a special occasion.
Yeah, you know, teaching them, you know, on a special occasion, it's all right to eat cake, right? And because it is. Like, you're not going to have a problem eating a piece of cake every once in a while, right?
Right. Like, I can't imagine being an 8-year-old and having, like, carrots and ranch while everyone else is having cake.
I know. What a sad fate, you know, that would be. It would be like, oh, well, the kid just wants some cake, right? And it's homemade cake, too. So it's not like there's the additives or preservatives or anything like that, that are added in a lot of other cakes. Like, so I don't know. I just think that this was a little far. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. thanks so much for watching. Thank you to Amber for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, consider giving us a like. And if you didn't, consider giving us a dislike. Happy Friday, Junior.
Happy Friday, Junior.
And I guess we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.